Hey everyone, and welcome to the UFC 236 preview show. You got Ryan and Sean here with you. I'm gonna break down some fights today. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry if you were looking for us at 3:30. We were, as always, this thing never goes as planned. It always takes a little bit.
We should start prepping the night before.
That would be the smart thing to do, Sean. So don't be silly. Don't be ridiculous. But
don't be stupid.
You know, it's been a while since we've been here. I know that, and we apologize. Conor McGregor went into retirement and announced that he is coming back since our last podcast. So, you know,
A lot's happened.
Yeah,
it was a busy month.
It was a
and
very
we missed
busy
all
month.
of it.
We did miss all of it. So, no, but we're happy to be back. We have a little bit new formatting for our show. Our schedules, we couldn't keep up with UFC's ridiculously back-to-back.
As busy as the UFC was, we were busier.
Yeah, absolutely. So between work and we work different shifts, and then on top of that, I'm trying to get my personal training license and our training ourselves and stuff. So, but we decided to reel it back. We're just going to do the pay-per-views, stick to the pay-per-view events right now, as well as we're trying to figure out the formatting for all these shows as well.
Which trial and error right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're trying to make it more digestible for everybody that's listening, watching.
Cut down the length. We've gone on pretty long sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing too. We're going a lot off of the feedback that we get. So if you've been watching since day one, you know, when we started at the very beginning of the year, we've had quite a few podcasts since then already, just because, again, we were keeping up every single week. We were keeping up with the podcast. But if there's something you like, whether that's you liked it when we were doing full fight breakdowns from the prelims, which we're kind of nixing today, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if there's something that you've seen through the formatting over the course of, you know, time, and you're like, hey, you guys really need to add that back in, or, you know, hey, that's a little time consuming, it's a little hard to listen to, yeah, please give us feedback.
You know, we could talk about fights all day.
Yeah.
You know, but we just felt like the average viewer, from what we heard, probably didn't want to sit down for an hour and a half, 2 hours for one podcast. At least maybe not do it in whole. And if you guys want the full breakdown, we could always do it over multiple episodes. Yeah.
And see, here was part of the thing. Was originally my idea, after I realized like you and I just couldn't cut it down to an hour or 45 minutes because we were doing the prelims, early prelims. Main card was to do just like a full show for the prelims, and then a full show just for the main card. You know, that way you have a 45-minute to an hour podcast, both released in the week leading up to, you know, the fight. But the other thing too is I want to see, and I want to gauge, and again, this comes from our viewers too. You got to let us know. I mean, do you care about the prelims? Is that fights that you want broken down, or is it just more like, which one should I watch?
Or do you just want to know who we think is going to win between Max and Dustin?
Yeah, or you just like, come on, get to the scoop, man. Let's go. But yeah, anyway, so thanks for joining us, man. We got again, we're reformatting the show just a little bit. So the way we're going to cover this as well, and again, this is a preview for the Holloway Poirier matchup in Atlanta this coming week. Woo woo. So we're going to reformat this. The way we're going to do it is we're going to go through all the early prelims and the prelims as well. And we're just going to really just break it down by stats real quick, just kind of fly through these fights, give you the Vegas odds for each fight, as well as just a quick like, hey, you should watch this fighter, you should watch that fighter, good prospects coming up. And then we'll start breaking down fights on the main card. So hope that sounds good to everybody. We're going to get the ball rolling here. We'll start looking at these early matchups. I mean, man, this is a stacked card, Sean.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not as stacked in terms of rankings and contender fights, but it's a lot of guys who like to get after it, a lot of lower level guys that really don't break into the rankings much. And usually when they do, they lose and they're back out of it. But it's a lot of good matchups, a lot of fun matchups, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even to the point, too, on the prelims, there's definitely some people to watch out for.
There's definitely some young guys.
Absolutely.
And some newcomers.
Yeah. So let's start. Actually, too, we'll rewind it. We'll stay here on the prelims as well. These are going to be starting at 6:15 p.m., and these are going to be on Fight Pass. It's going to be a little confusing with the new format switch over to ESPN, and now it's not on pay-per-view anymore, et cetera, et cetera.
It's technically still pay-per-view, but you have to go through ESPN.
Right. So, yeah, I guess that's a good indicator. It is pay-per-view. You still do have to pay for the fights. You're just going through a different method right now. So, but the early prelims are going to be on Fight Pass. Again, that's another confusing thing too. If you have ESPN Plus and you have Fight Pass, you have to know, if you want to go back and watch a fighter, Sean and I found this out the hard way the last 2 weeks, is that you have to know what
Basically,
card they were fighting
unless
on.
they fight on the early prelims, it's not going to be on Fight Pass anymore.
No, a lot of the fights
no
are...
pay-per-view will too.
They're exclusive to ESPN Plus. Anything that is on ESPN as of right now is exclusively on the ESPN platform, and vice versa with the Fight Pass. If it's airing on Fight Pass, it's going to show up on Fight Pass. So just make a note of that. But all right, so let's get into this first one. We have Brandon Davis and Randy Costa first up to bat to fight. This is at 135 pounds. I think this Randy Costa guy has only fought 4 times. This is his UFC debut as well. Brandon Davis, actually, I think he was on, we covered him in one of our earlier fights this year too. He's been on the prelims a little bit as well. Not much from what I've seen. Both these guys are pretty tall for 135. One's 5'10", one's 5'9". Brandon Davis hasn't had too great a run in the UFC. He's lost 3 of his last 4.
There's a reason that he's fighting a guy that's 4-0.
Yeah, so we'll see what's going into this one. I believe... Oh, shoot. Let me go back to my stats on here. My...
Damn it, Ryan.
I know.
Yeah, I tried pulling something up about that Costa kid, but there's not much on him.
I'm just pulling up the odds here. Look, I'm already off on this one. Dang it, Yahoo sucks. I know. Well,
we're Google family.
I think everybody's Google. Let's see.
Not people who work for Yahoo.
Nobody works for Yahoo. There we go. All right. I was gonna say I have my favorite site that I look on here. Bookmarked on here, but it's only bookmarked on Google. Anyway, so Brandon Davis is a little bit of the favorite here. He's the minus 165 to Randy Costa's
I think that's mostly just because
145.
they have tape. They know him.
Yeah,
he's a veteran.
That's 100% what it is. Veterans, even hard to say. Well, I guess they even call Artem a veteran.
He's had how many UFC fights? He's a veteran
16
compared to this
13.
kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, that's still tough coming in 4 fights, but not much to talk about on that one. So let's move on to the next fight. That's going to be the very first fight on the Fight Pass card. Then we have a ladies matchup in the flyweight division between Lauren Muller and Poliana Balthello. I think Poliana is another one that we covered earlier this year. So Lauren Miller's 6-1 to Poliana's 7-2. It's a U.S. versus Brazil matchup. And let's see what the Vegas odds for this one. They have Poliana as the favorite at the minus 165 to Lauren Mueller's plus 145. All right. Did you see anything on this early prelim that got you excited? I know we have
Montel Jackson's a fun guy to watch. He's finished all of his wins, and Andrei Sukumtov has already been used as a stepping stone for prospects. So expect some blood to be shed here. Andre's more likely.
Yeah, Montel Jackson is another guy. He's one of those up and comers at 135.
Great division too. Getting a lot of young talent.
Yeah, they are. They do have a lot of great talent in that division. So this should be a fun matchup as well. This is probably our first fun matchup. Let's be honest on that one, right?
Yeah, that's the first fight in my opinion worth watching.
Yeah, and this one was one of the biggest odds I saw on the card. This is Montel Quick Jackson's minus 485 to Andre's plus 385.
Yeah, to give you an idea of Andrei Sukumtov, he's the one who fought Sean O'Malley in Sean O'Malley's last fight, where he fractured his foot and he could barely even stand, and Sukumtov took him down instead of making him stand and kept hitting him. Literally, he was hopping on one foot, and he decided to take him down.
When are we
with one, he was already down 2 rounds, and even the commentators like, why wouldn't you just start punching him until he couldn't stand? Then the ref would have to stop the fight.
Yeah.
So that shows you what Andrei Sukumtov is as a fighter. Not smart.
Let's see a little bit of the matchup numbers here. I always love using the numbers we use here are thanks to Fight Metrics. Man,
The UFC uses Fight Metrics, so
yeah. So all these fighters as well, especially the ones on the undercard that haven't fought yet, all the UFC's metrics come from Fight Metrics. So if somebody hasn't fought in the UFC or any one of their subdivisions that they have throughout, then they're not going to have any stats on here. So just make a note of that as well. I like that Montel's southpaw. That's good too. Let's see. Strikes landed per minute's about the same, 367 or 3.67 for Montel, and for Andre it's 3.22. Striking accuracy is in the mid 40s for both these boys. Absorb per minute is low for Montel Jackson. That probably comes with his 5'10" height at 135. Whereas Andre, we can see that he takes almost 4 shots a minute on average. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of these stats are the same. Defense in the striking game.
A lot of times, too, stats are kind of a wash because matchups and, you know how MMA math is. It's basically like trying to round pie. It's just you're never going to do it.
Yeah, well, that's relatively true because if you think that if you think about the fact that Andre takes about 2 more shots per minute, but their defense percentage is around the same, it kind of doesn't make sense until you think about volume is the differentiator in that one. And then Montel Jackson's got a little bit, better stats in the grappling game. So
yeah, I think he's got a few more subs on his record.
Right on. So that's that match up, and then
I like this next matchup too.
Yeah, this one is actually really exciting.
This is probably like one of the better early prelims that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, so the headliner for the early prelim on Fight Pass is Curtis Molinder and Bilal Muhammad. I'm a fan of Bilal, stand-up guy. So
yeah, he gets after it.
Yeah, he does. He's a guy that'll go toe-to-toe with you, and he's ready to throw it down.
Molinder's kind of stiff, too, for his size. He fights pretty tall and stiff, so if Bilal can get in and out, he can use movement.
Yeah, he's really smooth on his feet too. So I would like to see him being able to move. I'm personally a bigger fan of Bilal. Just I like his style a little bit more.
Molinder just doesn't seem. He's a tall dude with a lot of range who counter strikes. Mm-hmm. It's just not maybe the most fun.
Yeah. I mean,
style.
Bilal was coming off a fun fight against Geoff Neal. Mm-hmm. Do you remember that one? Yeah. We watched that a couple months ago. I think that was earlier this year, maybe late last year. Geoff Neal's another guy you got to keep your eyes peeled for. But yeah, that was definitely a fun fight to watch. But otherwise, he's racked up some pretty good wins here against Renko Tur, Mean, Brown, in that division. Whereas Molinder's actually racked up some good fights as well against Sayer.
And he's just coming off a sub loss to another guy that was a lot of people are excited about welterweight too. So Curtis Molinder, even though coming off a loss, people are still excited about him.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And I think he's a pretty young guy, too. I think he's like 30. I think both these guys are like 30 years old. So still relatively young in the fight game. But this is definitely a fight that, if you're sitting around waiting for the pay-per-view.
You got nothing to do. You got the Fight Pass, man. Tune in. It'll be a fun one.
Absolutely. So this one's fun. But let's move on. So that is going to be your early prelims. Now we're going to head over to the prelim matchup. That's going to be on ESPN. So... So make sure that you have both your subscriptions up and running.
I think the prelims will probably be on one of the ESPN family channels, or would it be on ESPN Plus?
No,
that's saying ESPN right there. So
yeah, no. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess I should have preluded that to the fact that it's going to be in the main card. No, the prelims.
That if you did though go on there, it would be on there.
Yeah, prelims are going to be. So you're going to be switching through 3 different programs because the prelims are going to be on ESPN on TV. So those are free technically. Those are going to be there to get you pumped up. But that fight is going to start with Boston Salmon and Khalid Taha. I gotta admit, I haven't seen any of these guys. I haven't seen.
No, we know
fight.
nothing about either of these guys.
So. No, so we're gonna stick to the Vegas odds on this one. We're gonna stick to the betting professionals that have Taha as. Actually, this is a very close fight, so Vegas might say the same thing.
Yeah, they're probably gonna. Who the heck are these two?
Yeah, so Boston Salmon's a small favorite at the -125 to Khalid's +105. So that's going to get the ESPN card kicked off. And then we have coming up next.
And that could be a fun fight because those two, like, we don't know who those guys are. Vegas doesn't know. A lot of people don't know. Those could be two guys coming out willing to put it all on the line. So,
well, I think you and I have always preached that you got to watch the prelims because those guys are fighting.
The
for
prelims
contracts.
sometimes, or a lot of times even, are better than the main card.
Yeah, I mean, you figure these are guys that are only making $8,000,
just
guaranteed. Yeah, just to show up.
Not to mention, like, what, $1,000 from Reebok, because you have to have a certain amount of fights to get money from Reebok.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous what these guys get paid. I mean, even most of these guys on the prelims, they're getting anywhere from $8,000 to maybe $15,000, and then they double up on a win bonus, and then. To your point, I think Reebok.
They're fighting for fight night bonuses too. For that 50 G's, baby.
Yeah, everybody hopes. But you know what stinks though? It's funny you brought that up because I was thinking about this last time. Is a lot of times you'll have better knockouts. I think just like in the prelims or earlier in the card. But if you're,
but then more known fighters are keen to. They're the favorite to get the fight night, but which I understand because that's a veteran thing, right? The veteran gets the benefit of the doubt, I guess, in those decisions.
Yeah.
Gotta kind of earn them, I guess. Like who's gonna take Masvidal's fight night bonus over Darren Till? I don't care what kind of knockout. I don't care if you saw the craziest shit you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, I know that
from some no-name guy.
And to your point, I guess that's the exciting factor of that, right?
Yeah. But I guess I kind of getting off topic, but the thing that they've done lately is they don't do knockout of the night or sub of the night. They do still do fight of the night, but they also do 3 performances of the night. So if there's 3 knockouts better than any sub, there you go, 3 performances of the night.
Yeah, and that's fair. And you know what? You're probably right on that. That's probably how they've tried to fix that, right? Like, because otherwise you're just forcing it. Yeah, I mean, if one guy gets a sub, an arm bar or a triangle at the
get
end
some
of
lazy rear naked choke.
Yeah, exactly.
He was beating the guy up. It's just like,
Like Ben Askren gets submission of the night over Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, like if he's the only one that had a sub. So
I just wanted to touch on that.
Let's go, Masvidal.
The next matchup that we have, the second fight on that card for the prelims on ESPN is going to be Max Griffin and Zalim Imadeev.
When I looked at these stats, I told Ryan, I like Max Griffin. He's a pretty fun guy to watch. He doesn't win a lot, but he goes after it. I don't like him anymore.
Sean, wait a minute. Tell us, why do you not like him anymore?
He got knocked out by Colby Covington. Who gets knocked out by Colby Covington? That's right, I said it. I don't give a shit. I said it. Who likes Colby? Colby's a fuck.
Colby likes Colby.
Colby likes Colby a lot.
Yeah, he does.
Colby likes Colby as much as Colby likes porn stars.
Yeah, I have no words for that. I can't even tell you how many times I watch Colby just to wait for him to get knocked out and lose. So, because as much, I mean, I don't think Usman's going to knock him out. If anything, it's just going to be a grueling 5-round fight when those two match up.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah, I mean, to Sean's point as well, Zalim hasn't fought in the UFC, so he has nothing but Max.
But he's 8-0. And 3 times in those 8 fights, he's knocked out his opponent in less than 15 seconds.
And doesn't he have 7 knockouts, 7 or 8 knockouts?
All 8. He's 8-0 with 8 knockouts.
And then 3 of those came under 15 seconds?
Yep.
That's insane, man. Do you know where he was fighting out of?
He's from Moscow, so I would imagine Russia. Somewhere.
Mother Russia? Nice.
Maybe AKA because they take Russians like fucking water.
We're like in the middle of the like Eastern Europe takeover of MMA right now. A lot of
Russians.
Yeah, a lot of Russians coming in.
It's going to create the rivalry again. The U.S.-Russia rivalry. It's coming back. Cold War II is coming back.
Not necessarily, because luckily Conor just can't shut up, so he keeps Khabib busy, and they just keep that.
Khabib's going to be fighting an American next.
Yeah, he will be. But yeah, to your point though, Max Griffin doesn't have he's an exciting fighter. That's probably why he's on here. But I mean, to your point, he's lost to Alves, Melinder, Perry. Oh wait, actually, sorry, he beat Perry, and then he lost to Zaleski dos Santos,
the guy who beat Melinder,
who beat Melinder before. So he seems to trade wins, losses. He does enough, and he's an exciting enough guy that the UFC keeps.
He bounces from 155, 170. So
yeah, so
he's very useful for them for these reasons.
All right, so
what was the odds on that? I want to see what they have for Zaleem.
Oh, fair enough. Good thing you reminded me. So,
might throw down some money.
Yeah, stay tuned. Later, we're going to have our DraftKings episode later this week as well. So Max Griffin is barely the favorite. He's the minus.
I'm throwing money on that.
minus 115 to Zaleem's plus 105. I mean, that's marginal at best.
I'm still throwing money on that.
Yeah.
Because what is that? That's $10 to wait. How much is that to win 105? So if you bet 100, that's what you would win, right? 115.
Yeah, so both these guys are minuses right now. So if you bet
they're both minuses. I thought you said he was a plus.
Yeah, no, I misread that. Sorry, the screen was so small. But again, yeah, super marginal. Either way, I mean, actually, that's even closer at the minus 105. So,
well, yeah, that means they're both making. You're gonna have to pay. So that's actually a terrible bet.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily worth putting money down on that one. But so the next one on here is Wilson Rice versus
Alexander Pantoja. He was on the Tournament of Champions to fight DJ.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was one of the favorites to win it.
Yeah, so, man, this needs to be exciting. 125 is in desperate need of some contenders. Wilson Rice is a number 4. Alexandre is the number 5 guy in the 125 division. I mean, you figure with their champ going up to 135 to fight for that belt.
Yeah. And their former champ went over to 1 to win.
Yeah, right.
Shout out DJ, keep doing it, dude.
Yeah, we miss you, boy.
Get your money.
Leaving on a shitty note too.
But it was nice to see him not wearing Reebok. Just saying. I'm just saying.
I know. It was. I can't wait until this Reebok deal is over, and hopefully they cannot renew it. That's all I know. But both these guys are veterans. Wilson has over 30 fights. Alexandre has 23
Wilson
fights.
has challenged for the title.
Yeah, so look for this to be an exciting fight. 125, I love that. These guys are always athletic. They're always fast. They don't tire out. This should be an interesting fight at best. So
I think they're both grapplers, so this is and the race is like a legit black belt.
Yeah,
in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so probably some high-level grappling.
Yeah,
fight.
He doesn't strike much, so keeping that one. This one's also close as well. Pantoja's the favorite at minus 150 to Rice's plus 130. So not a big difference in that regard. So getting to the main event, Sean, this one we're excited about. Why are we excited about this one?
Jalen the Tarantula Turner.
Yes, we watched this guy. He is an exciting guy.
He fought the last time Izzy fought in Australia.
Yeah. He's an exciting dude. He's 6'3" at 155 pounds. He looks every bit of it. Like the guy is just huge. He's a post. He's thin, but he's huge.
Athletic as shit.
Yeah, and the guy Matt Frivola that he's fighting is only 5'9", which is an average 155 pound height. Nothing bad there. Even though you are starting to see a lot, like at the top end of 155, you see guys that are like 5'11", 6 foot, But yeah, Jalen Turner's huge for 155. He had an exciting knockout.
Look how long his arms look just in that picture.
I know. To put it in perspective, his reach is 6 inches longer than Matt's.
He's at 77-inch reach.
Yeah,
that's nuts for lightweight.
Yeah,
absolutely,
it is. So, but he has a high knockout percentage. He's a very exciting
he can
guy.
Be knocked out.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is he is susceptible to that too. I think what's his record? 7-4. I think he has 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah,
he got knocked out.
UFC debut, he stepped up on short notice to fight Vicente Luque. He jumped up a weight class, and Luque ain't no joke, son. That dude can bang.
Yeah, Luque's balling.
And he was actually doing really well against Vicente too. And then Vicente caught him and knocked him out.
Yeah. But he looked good in his last fight, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to think, what was the name of the guy he fought?
Callum Potter, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, I mean, he knocked him out nasty. That was a great fight to watch.
I don't know if Jalen Turner is going to be like a top 5 lightweight, but he's going to be a dude who puts on some fun fights.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, there's so many guys in the lightweight division that you just need somebody that's exciting. He's a young dude. I think that he's going to,
he's going to make some money. He's going to make some fight bonuses.
Yeah, the dude's only, 24, 25 years old. He's a 6'3" southpaw at lightweight, and he's a striker. So, I'm sorry, I just read his stats, man. This is insane. Strikes landed per minute is 10. That's
I don't think
he's only fought 2 or 3.
His Luque fight, did it go? I think it went more than 1 round. So he's fought 3 rounds, I think.
Yeah, he's fought about 3 rounds in the UFC.
So he's fought a full fight.
Yeah. And that's a heck of a, that's the most I've ever seen.
That's pretty good.
There. Yeah. And especially when your striking accuracy is at 53%.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that in our last podcast as well, is when you start looking at elite strikers, they're going to be at or above that 50% striking accuracy range. So just to give you a little, little insight there. So this should be a fun one, if nothing else, just to watch a new and upcomer, see what he's got. And then that'll be a good way to go into the pay-per-view. Can we still call it a pay-per-view?
Yeah, because you're still paying $60 for it. So, yeah, I'm calling that a fucking pay-per-view.
Okay, fair enough.
Because you can only view it once, so you're still paying per the view.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I just didn't know if that was like a trademark thing for whatever.
It's ESPN pay-per-view.
So we have a very exciting fight to end the prelims, and then we have a not so exciting fight to kick off the main card.
Yeah, it's the light heavyweight division. If it's not John Jones or Alexander Gustafsson, it's basically just who cares? I shouldn't say that, because Johnny Walker. Let's be honest, we all want to see Johnny Walker.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a few exciting guys, but they're all being thrown right to the wolf as soon as they've been.
Because
and I say the wolf.
Yeah.
Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos. I mean, yeah, sure, they look great moving up to light heavyweight, but I mean, again, if you have a guy like Anthony Smith that has over 40 fights, like, what else is he waiting for? He is what he is. You know what I mean?
He'll never be any different, really.
And I think Santos is a lot the same. Like, he is what he is. But
they need somebody to fight John.
Yeah, 100%.
Because if they throw Johnny Walker to John Jones this year, I'll be upset. Even though they will. They will.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Oh, he's fighting after Santos. Assuming, obviously, Santos loses to
I would
John
think
Jones.
Johnny Walker would probably get a top 10 opponent and then fight John Jones. That's usually how the UFC works.
I know, but
unless he's hurt.
But here's the thing, though. John wants to fight 3 times this year, at least.
But they could always have Corey Anderson.
Corey Anderson would get steamrolled.
Yep.
But, yeah, what's his biggest strength? His wrestling against the best wrestler in the division. That's going to be super.
Yep.
I like that. Yep. Yep. I guess the best part about this fight, so we have OSP, Oven St. Preux versus Nikita Krylov.
The nice thing about this is they're both guys that can be finished.
Hey, and OSP's a local guy for us, man. He's from Immokalee, Florida.
Yeah, he is.
So he's local. So we're in Southwest Florida. So he's not too far. So represent for Southwest Florida, just not with an L. But he has a great opportunity against Nikita here. He's a fast fighter. Nikita's got some good stand-up. I think he mixes up combos well. He moves pretty fluid on his feet, but the problem is his ground game is just subpar, man. We watched him fight Jan
Blachowicz.
Yeah, in his last fight that he lost, and I mean there was just some real basic level jiu-jitsu stuff.
I mean, there's a reason he was out of the UFC, and then now he's back.
Yeah, so so again, this one's not going to be the most exciting. OSP can sometimes get some flash knockouts. He's had it in his past. He's been back.
They're heavier guys. They're still going to throw some leather.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if we go back, I mean, he's been trading wins and losses. He lost to Reyes, beat Pedro, lost to Latifi. It just doesn't look that good, just considering he's a much bigger dude than Latifi.
For most light heavyweights, a win doesn't look as good as most divisions. Like Latifi beating St. Preux. Either one beating them, it's not really like oh wow, he really, that's a good win.
Yeah, I think
Unless you're beating fucking Gustafsson, I think that's really the only like fight at light heavyweight that you're like, dude, that's legit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because a lot of them trade wins and losses with each other.
Yeah, and I think even to that point with Nikita too, he was in the UFC. He got dropped by him, got a few wins in his local circuit, and then got back into the UFC.
He's still a young guy. He's only like 26, so maybe they just told him, look, go work on some shit, get some fun fights, get your confidence back, and we'll bring it back. And maybe that's what happened.
Yeah, and I think we heard too when we were reviewing some of his fights too. He has a different martial arts background too. Yeah. Outside of MMA, I couldn't even. I heard it pronounced, and I think I looked at you. I was like, "What the hell did they just say?"
I know he's from Russia, but it sounded Spanish.
It's one of those things, man. Like I'm pretty well versed in different martial arts, and I remember hearing
it
that,
might be
and I was
Pig
like,
Latin.
"What the?" It might be Pig Latin. Yeah,
it sounded like some lost like Aztecan language that nobody's heard of in years.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know. I'm not overly excited. OSP's been kind of like,
which is, it's kind of disappointing because they like to kick off pay-per-views with a big fight, a fun fight, I should say.
Yeah, but I mean, and especially too when you consider that you have a young, exciting guy, a lightweight, polishing off the
I would like to, but
the prelim.
They love putting a big fight in the prelim main event because that's where they get the most views.
Yeah, absolutely. But for this one, OSP is not the favorite. Actually, Nikita is the favorite at the with minus 115 to OSP's minus 105.
Oh, they're both minus. See, that's just what this card is, man. It's just lower level guys who all trade wins and losses, but they can finish fights and they can be finished. That's what it is.
And I think you said this earlier, which I thought was a good point too. Like, this is a weird card because there are a lot of good matchups on here, but none of them are like.
Other than the two title fights, there's no like this guy's going to be in the top 5 if he wins, or maybe break into the rankings. Maybe there might be one or two, or somebody might break in the rankings, but there's no like seismic shifts about to happen in the rankings other than who's about to be the 2 new champions.
Yeah, exactly. Even we'll get into that later. Yeah. But so that's going to kick off the pay-per-view on ESPN.
And I should say, enjoy this card because there's some good main events coming up for the next month. But looking at the list of cards, not a lot of great matchups, not a lot of fun matchups because we've had so many fun fights lately, so many fun matchups. This is what happens when you have this many fights in a row. When they put on so many cards, is sometimes you start to get a streak where there's a lot of no names.
Well, I mean,
you should still watch them.
They stacked because I think what it is. Thinking back on it, is they wanted to start this ESPN thing off hot.
March, when you look back on it, was one of the greatest months of the sport.
I think the only card that I've missed, like in the last 3 months, of course, was
Dos Santos and Lewis. I think was the only one I missed.
Oh, see, I saw that one. I think we actually saw it because I missed Masvidal and Till.
Oh, we did miss that. We both missed that because we were out for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah. Well,
but still, I heard that was a good card.
We were watching.
The Pettis and Thompson fight was a good one.
We were watching because, man, we love the sport so much. We were watching updates on the
bar.
Phone, and then I was like, "Whoa, our boy Masvidal, he got it."
We're Miami guys, so we love Masvidal.
Yeah, so
we love Yoel. We hate Colby. I know Colby's not from Miami, but he fights at a top team. But fuck Colby. I'm sorry, just to bring us back to Colby.
Yeah. Why did you do that?
I don't know. I'm giving him the attention he wants.
Which actually makes me feel mixed now that you are talking about top team and our guys in the Southeast Florida, because Dustin Poirier has been training out a top team for the last
I like Poirier.
Couple months over Holloway. We'll get into that though.
We'll talk about that.
I was gonna say, hold your comments there, homie. So this next fight on the card is, we don't know if we should be excited about it.
I'm a little excited about it. I mean, I'm not like, it doesn't get my blood pumping, but I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the next. No, right. This is
all right. So it's Alan Jobin versus Dwight Grant.
Yeah,
so,
I was thinking about the fight after this, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, we're not.
So here's the thing. I like Alan Jobin. He's a nice, well-rounded fighter. He's a strong guy. I think he can fight anywhere and everywhere. Yeah. He's going to be a guy that just shows up, and I think that he's a great gatekeeper at 170. Mm-hmm. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, we just don't know anything about this other guy.
So that's where I was going to bring it in. Dwight Grant is a mystery to us.
We tried to watch his fights. He's not on Fight Pass, even though he was on the Contender Series. And he had another fight in the UFC. We could not pull up any. He was not on the UFC website.
No, and you know what? This is when we started realizing that there's kind of a problem.
Yeah,
right
the
now.
infrastructure in the UFC website, which we knew before, but it just keeps boiling over, right? Like it just keeps piling up.
So there's a few things, and actually, you know what? Let's chat about this fight real quick before we get into that. So Dwight Grant, all we know about him is literally what we can pull stats from. He's 9-2.
He won his Contender Series fight.
Yeah,
clearly because he's in the UFC.
he's welterweight at 6'1".
Oh, this is another thing. Because they did have his 2 fights on UFC that he won his Contender Series, and they had his last fight, which is in February. They had no result.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second, but just looking at the stats over here, I mean, Alan Jobin
That's a good differential that I'm looking at. The strikes landed per.
I was going to say, like, on paper, this is all Alan Jobin's fight. It's actually kind of weird that Dwight is being thrown this fight, but it could also just be kind of like a bounce back for Alan.
It could be. It could be a fight for a guy that they want to get a W so they can keep him.
Yeah, absolutely. So just looking at fight metrics stats, and again, just for a little caveat here. So if Dwight Grant, I think's had between his Contender Series, and I think he's fought on 2 fight nights.
One. He's had 2 fights, technically, with the UFC promotion.
Okay.
Including the Contender Series.
Okay, so then that means that fight metrics only covers those 2 fights. So even though he is...
I don't know if they would...
11.
Is that considered a professional
Yeah,
fight?
Contender
Series. I know the
Series...
Ultimate Fighter isn't.
I'm almost certain that Contender Series is on here.
I would see...
From guys that we've looked at in the past.
You know what? You're right, because I don't think they would have it on their website if it wasn't a professional win.
Yeah, so... So if we just look at significant strikes in the stand-up game, Alan Jobin is landed at 5.41
at 53%.
Significant strikes per minute at, yes, to your point, 53%.
And he doesn't throw a lot of power in his shots. He's a touch him kind of guy, but still that's a lot. That's a lot to take.
Yeah, again, like I said, he's an athletic guy. He's very well rounded. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he has high volume, but he also takes a lot too. Absorb per minute's 3.48.
But that's a pretty good differential though. It depends on how you take him, I guess.
But here's the good thing to your point. Dwight Grant, his significant strikes landed per minute, 2.25. So that's less than half of Jobin's. His his percentage for those strikes landed is 32% to Jobin's 53%. Absorb per minute is lower, but I mean, if he's not striking as much, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's at 2.85 to Jobin's 3.48, and his defense is at 68%. So, grappling is, actually, we see a higher takedown accuracy with Dwight.
I don't know if you
Grant.
can. That's kind of hard because.
Yeah, when you're comparing Jobin's UFC career
he's
to
had
Dwight Grant's.
multiple fights. Talk about a veteran.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but even just going back, let's look and see who they fought. Yeah, Jobin has recently fought Saunders, Price. Oh, Nico Price, local guy for us.
That's a really local guy for us. Yeah, that's a really local. So
shout out to Nico. Not that we know him, but you the man. We love watching you.
Keep doing your thing, man.
Yeah, Nelson beat Perry, beat Bilal. So he's got some good stuff under his belt. Dwight Grant, I mean, he split. He won one, lost one. We don't know with this guy, but I'll tell you, if anything else, Jobin will put on a good fight. So
I think this would have been a good prelim fight. I would have liked to see this maybe as a main prelim, and then Jalen Turner up here because. Like we said,
well, Jalen Turner's on the prelim headliner to be on the main for his next fight, assuming he wins to be on.
Yeah, usually if they're putting a young fighter in the prelim headline, that's for a reason.
Yeah,
but when you're paying money, you just want to get your money's worth.
No, absolutely, I know you're.
But I get
right,
it.
though.
I get it from both sides. When you're looking at it.
Oh my goodness, I think this is criminal. Alan Jobin's the favorite, but not by much. He's the minus 125 to Dwight Grant's plus 105.
But they might not just know much about Dwight Grant. Might not want to take a chance on putting a lot on Jobin.
Yeah, that's true. And
it's hard to put betting lines on this, especially because Vegas. I don't know if they pay a lot of attention to MMA. Maybe they have a few people that's dedicated to the sport, but it could be hard.
Well, I told you that was one of the things you and I discussed. I mean, a few years ago, I felt like I could bet pretty decently against Vegas and come out on top pretty
And
well.
maybe Vegas saw that and they're like, all right, we're not doing a lot of big betting lines anymore.
Yeah, so
We're not, unless we know.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So going back, this should be just to polish it off. I mean, it is what it is. There's enough other good fights on this card that Alan Jobin I think will put on a performance. So he should be pretty exciting. I don't know, and then who knows? Dwight Grant. Sorry. That's how little I know him. Dwight Grant might be the next Anderson Silva or something, and we just don't know. So
Maybe it could be.
We'll see. But, going back to what we were talking about, man, we've always talked about how the UFC site is just so disjointed. Like, even their fight metrics information is so far off from the actual fight metrics site. And then on top of that, they're missing fight information, to your point. Like, how many times have you gone on there and seen that there's fighters missing? Like, did they win? Did they lose? This fight happened last year. Like, why is it not recorded properly? But then we noticed on top of that ESPN Plus and Fight Pass have the different fights. It depends on where it was shown, and then you have to bounce back and forth.
Yeah, which hopefully within the year they'll start mixing that together, and ESPN maybe will finally get a better infrastructure themselves, because even right now they have just one thing, past events, and it's just in order with a ton of videos that you have to scroll through just to get to other past fights. So
Yeah.
And they're not broken down by fighter or nothing. So hopefully in time they'll start working that in.
Yeah, I honestly, I just hope they kind of move it over, which I don't think they can do it, but it'd be nice if they just moved it over to ESPN. I was playing around with the platform a little bit, and it is a little bit smoother.
It is. It definitely is.
I mean, look at the
ESPN
money.
Plus is still pretty new too, so they're still figuring out a lot. They got, it's not just MMA for them. They got everything, so they're still figuring everything out.
But ESPN has Disney money behind them.
They do, but it takes time, I'm sure, to implement that with how big they are.
Yeah, the WME IMG merger.
And I think one thing that
that
we talked about, because when they first announced that ESPN would do all the pay-per-views, or that you'd have to buy them through ESPN, we talked about how, what we heard is what the WWE was doing, because their pay-per-view sales were hurting much like the UFC's is now, where now they have their streaming service where you pay $20 a month, but you get all the pay-per-view access. You don't pay anything extra.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice if ESPN and the UFC could find a way to do something like that.
Yeah, I think that would be something that's going to happen down the pipeline. They have to see the success rate.
Unless they have a superstar, which they usually only have one at a time. And how many times can that person fight in a year? Which their superstar now doesn't fight often.
No.
And he's not a champion. He's coming off a loss.
Yeah.
And some other shit.
Yeah, outside of the cage, that's not good.
So it's like, what are you willing? You're willing to just stick to this old, outdated pay-per-view model where people are just going to keep, streaming free ones?
Yeah, they're losing a ton of money, I think, to your point on that.
Because what's $20 a month? I know there's a lot of streaming services now, but at least $20 a month for the years of pay-per-view.
Well, and not only think about that. Think about this too. Right now, we're paying what? $10 a month anyways for an ESPN Plus and
$5 I think for ESPN, and then $15 for Fight Pass.
Is it $15 for Fight Pass?
I think so.
Damn, that shows how much I pay attention. It comes out of my bank every month. I don't even pay attention.
It's not worth $15 either.
No, it's
to
not.
Watch the free fights is,
not.
but like we said, the structure and everything. Well, now it definitely isn't.
Well, not to mention we've had trouble trying to air it on different TVs and different platforms. So
it doesn't work well. It doesn't stream very well.
Yeah. I feel bad dogging the UFC. They've looked great since they've come on to ESPN, though. The ESPN events have been fantastic.
I don't feel bad for dogging the brand. We're not dogging the fighters, because the fighters are putting on some fights lately. Since ESPN.
Yeah,
the matchmakers do a great job.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But Dana and his media branch of the company, they need to figure their shit out.
Oh my God! Don't even get me started on that. I know. Actually, it was pretty funny. He said because the UFC was briefly talking about doing an IPO, like launching to do stock options and stuff. He's like, if we go public, I'm getting fired. And everybody's like, oh no, the worst thing about that is you get fired. Like, get out of here.
Does that mean Conor McGregor buys his shares finally?
Yeah, but he has to buy him. He doesn't just freaking get him.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right, yeah, sorry, we went off track a little bit, but at least hopefully if you have an ESPN Plus and you have a Fight Pass, you can kind of learn how to navigate it. If you're looking for a specific fight,
I recommend getting rid of Fight Pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but it has all the historical stuff on there from 2018 and before. But I was just gonna say, if you're looking for a specific fight, just go back to UFC.com, see when that guy fought. If it was in 2019 and it was on ESPN, go to the ESPN Plus platform. If
it was on pay-per-view or Fight Pass, it'll be on the UFC app.
Correct. So, and then that changes after this next week.
Well, I don't know if it will with the pay-per-view. I don't know if the pay-per-view fights will.
If you're buying it through ESPN, I would assume that's theirs. That's
we'll
gonna
see.
be their
We'll
content.
We'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll follow
Time
up.
will tell with that.
Yeah, we'll follow up with that one. So, all right, let's move on to the next fight.
I think this is a fun matchup.
Oh yeah, 100%. We have Eric Anders versus Khalil Roundtree.
And again, it's one of those fights. Neither guy's probably going to get ranked unless they have a spectacular knockout.
Yeah,
but it's a fun fight because both guys can be knocked out and they can knock out.
Yeah, this one is at light heavyweight. I think Anders did not have a good. Was Anders at? No, he wasn't. I was going to say he was at 185 before, but I think that was a while ago. If he was. He hasn't. He's been trading.
He fluctuates.
Yeah, he does.
Fluctuates for fights.
He's been trading.
Because he's a guy that's willing to step up on short notice.
Yeah, absolutely. He lost to Theduro.
Elias.
Elias. Yeah,
so that's a 185 fight right there.
That Elias guy was so goofy, man. I remember that fight, but he cleanly outclassed Anders in that fight. He lost to Santos, but I mean that's not necessarily a bad loss. And Santos ran through 3 or 4 guys to get his title shot.
Was it that middleweight or was it 205? It was probably 205.
It was probably 205 because Santos didn't have. He had a little bit of rough end of his 185 reign. So, and then Khalil Roundtree was looking pretty dang hot until he met Johnny Walker. But who hasn't?
That's a dude.
Hit a
Johnny
wall.
Walker. If they told me to describe him in one word, I'd say dude.
And
he's a dude.
The thing is, like, the thing with Roundtree is going to be interesting to see, like, where his mental state is at. He's been in Thailand training his stand-up to better his
sometimes
stand-up.
when you move a new camp, you're feeling confident, it's fresh, it's new.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, he knocked out Gokhan Saki.
With a fucking straight left,
oh
right
my
down the
God,
pipe.
that was a beautiful shot.
He really punched through him. He didn't punch. He didn't punch to the target. He punched through it.
Yeah, and then polished him off with a few hammer fists on the ground that were pretty nasty as well. But then he got into Walker, and Walker just absolutely blasted him with this elbow to the temple that just put him down. I mean, you heard it through the TV. You're just like, oh my God, that he just broke his head.
That was straight elbow bone to skull.
Yeah, and but it's always interesting to see where a guy can come back mentally from that. From a big knockout.
He might have been knocked out before. I feel like I could be wrong about that, but
yeah,
he got knocked out cold, so that's a hard one.
Yeah,
he got flatlined.
Even still, I mean, his confidence was boosted. He was climbing up the rankings, and then
now that I think about it, that's a weird fight for them to give after he knocked out Gokhan Saki. You thought he would have maybe got a top 10 guy, and then he gets this.
Well, Johnny Walker. I mean, that
was his first fight in the UFC.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Because the other thing too could have been because Roundtree was supposed to be a good prospect. So I mean, the other piece of that could have just been like, oh, we just need to feed him some more people for some wins, and then Johnny Walker exploded onto the scene. Like, I don't know who expected Johnny Walker to be.
He had a lot. Johnny Walker, if you look at his record, had a lot of knockouts. I think they were pretty high on him.
Well, he had a lot of knockouts, but he had also been knocked out twice, I think.
Yeah.
So, but that was earlier in his career. He's a really young guy, and that was really early on in his career. But the thing is, like, you got shelf life up here, man. Like, once you get knocked out once, that changes the landscape.
Yeah, but if you take a lot of time off and you don't take, so far in his UFC career, I don't know if he's got hit clean once. So, I mean, at least he's had that many months to not get hit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But Khalil Roundtree, I think he's a very fun fighter to watch. I think that he's going to be somebody that you want to watch. I'm just going back and looking at some of his fights in the UFC. Again, knocked out Saki, which was pretty damn interesting.
Beat Paul Craig.
Yeah. And...
the Bear Jew.
Yeah, so it's been a mix. I think that this will be an interesting fight. It looks like, even looking at this a little bit closer, just these guys matched up. I'm excited for this one. This should be a good matchup.
I think it's a fun. Yeah, I think it's gonna be. It's a fight of the night potential type fight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't think it will be fight of the night. I think the main event will.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. But it's still.
Yeah. So let's do the rundown of stats again. My favorite. Significant strikes landed. Anders is looking at 3.12 landed per minute to Khalil Roundtree's 2.3. Significant strikes is at landed is at 50% to Khalil's 34%. Absorbed per minute is 3.89 to Khalil's.
You'll love to see two guys who can throw pretty heavy bombs that take more than they give.
That's true, and that couldn't be truer for this fight as well. Defense is actually a little bit better for Roundtree at 38% to Anders 49%.
Did you say 38 was better than 49?
38%. Oh, my bad. I was looking at that the opposite way. Yeah. So never mind.
I think you're looking because his absorb per minute's lower.
Yeah. Oh, my bad. Yep, you're right. So I was looking at that backwards. Anyways, grappling, Khalil has almost nothing on here other than some grappling or takedown defense, which is at 50% to Anders 66%. So again, I think this is going to be a stand-up fight, potential fight in the night. Mm-hmm. I think that this one should be fun. Especially, I want to see how Khalil looks since he's been training in Thailand too. See if he comes
I don't
back
know if
with
that's
a
enough
few
time
trips.
to really do a lot.
Hey,
but this could be the right opponent for that, though.
Yeah, if all you're doing is focusing on your stand-up kicks and stuff,
I think it's
like
mostly
that,
the clinch work is what he said he was working on in Thailand.
Yeah,
mostly the clinch. So.
Well, I mean, after that Walker fight, that makes sense. So, but I will say too, like, I know I said his mental state is in check, but I was reading an interview with him, and he did say, hey, Johnny Walker's a monster, and it's not like
he seemed like he just wanted to put it behind him. He's like, I'm ready to go on.
Yeah,
ready to move.
Because he made another comment too, where he's like, it's not like I'm the only one that's been knocked out in the first round.
Yeah, that's got to help. That's got to help that he's knocked out two other guys like that.
Yeah, in the first round.
You go, all right, well, I'm not just a pussy. Everybody else is a pussy compared to this guy.
Yeah. He's like, that guy's just on another level. So, good fight. Let's see what the odds are on this one.
This guy's a Brazilian superhero.
Anders is the favorite at the minus 210 to Roundtree's plus 175.
I think Anders is the more athletic guy.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what they're looking at.
Yeah, and more experienced guy too.
Yeah.
Definitely. Man, I just looking at these odds. Since we started doing our podcast, this has to be one of the slimmest set of odds throughout a pay-per-view.
It's pretty boring odds.
Yeah, it is. There's nothing exciting. Usually, we've seen some pretty surprising stuff in the past. We've seen some big changes in odds. But man, this is marginal for most of these fights.
Just under a week away, so odds change when people start betting and stuff. Which people probably aren't going to bet a lot on this because there's not great odds. But
yeah, I mean, again, we'll check it in DraftKings because we do DraftKings late in the week. But
check after the weigh-ins because weigh-ins affect the lines too.
Yeah,
people want to
absolutely.
see what they look like when they weigh in. Because I've told you a couple times in these past few months when guys have looked bad, when guys have looked good, and then the guys who look good go on to win.
Yeah,
I think actually the Pettis and Thompson one was the last one I told you. He's like, dude, Pettis looked good on the scale.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you did say that. You're like, dude, Pettis looks good, and I was like, well, I mean, he's not cutting weight or anything. You're like, no, man. He looks good.
He looked ripped. It's fucking starched.
Oh my god! And then knocks Wonder Boy out for the first time in his career.
Superman hook.
Yeah, that was a sick fight, man. Talking about all these fights that have happened earlier this year.
We're sorry that we didn't get to these with you guys. These were great. These were great fights.
I know, of course. The time we're like, all right, you know what? We need to reel back our schedule a little bit. We need to relax, calm down.
It's funny because the 3 fight night cards were astronomically better than the pay-per-view.
Oh my god, yeah, they were so good, man.
The 3 main events for the fight nights, whoever was in the main event starched their opponent, flatlined them. It wasn't like a TKO over a long period of time. It was god damn.
No, March 2019 was definitely one for the books, man. There were so many great.
This will be a month that I'll always remember.
But yeah, let's move on.
Let's hope April's kicked off in the same way.
All right, man. Let's move on to the exciting fight.
This is what we want.
This is what you're paying your $60 for. Is the main and co-main event. a weird situation for both these, but we'll get into that because you got number 4 Kelvin Gastelum fighting for the interim middleweight title against Israel Adesanya, who we have seen not too long ago fight Anderson. Number 5, so number 4 versus number 5.
That's a weird interim fight, isn't it?
Well, for starters, most people don't think Kelvin should have got a title shot.
I could see it. I mean,
I only see it just because there's no one else for Whitaker to fight.
Yoel's lost twice. Mm-hmm. You can argue the second one. You can argue that, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
No.
Rockhold can't stay healthy, and he got knocked out in his last fight anyway. No, he didn't. He beat David Branch, but who gives a fuck about that? No, wait, did he beat Branch? And then I think Yoel was his last fight, right?
For who?
Rockhold.
Yeah.
So he got starched by Yoel, so you can't give him a title shot
because he sent him to 205.
Yep.
Yeah, he sent Luke.
And plus, he's going up anyway. Weidman always hurt. Plus, who gives a shit about Weidman? Let's be honest. Jacare, this is one that bothers me.
Which one?
Because I know Jacare, because a lot of people say that he deserves a title shot and this and that he's earned it because he's a veteran. First of all, Kelvin beat him, so Kelvin deserves it over him. Mm-hmm. I haven't been impressed with Jacare since he's got that contract. He does not look good.
He was the first person to really sign like the big UFC money deal, like guaranteed money and stuff. And he hasn't looked great.
He's coming off a loss. He knocked out Weidman, and he's guaranteed a title shot after his win. But him coming out and saying, if I don't get a title shot, if I win, I'm retiring or I'm leaving the UFC, and it's every time you've gotten there, you've lost though.
Yeah. I mean,
plus, the one time that he was offered it, he was offered the title shot against Rockhold before Bisping was, but he turned it down. Granted, it's on 2 weeks' notice. I'm not gonna necessarily talk bad about that, but you've had your opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what bothers me sometimes, is because you see some of these guys that are willing to do it, like Bisping, they're willing to step up on short notice for these fights because they know that this might be their only opportunity. Jacare passed on it. He hasn't gotten his opportunity, and he's complaining. Yeah. That's my only argument.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Jacare, the other thing, too, to your middleweight's kind of a mess right now anyways, with Yoel just kind of sitting there and already lost twice to the champ.
Talk about a guy that should go up to 205.
God, he would look like a monster at 205 with a little
bit
more
could wrestle
energy.
With John. He could wrestle with him, man. He's explosive. I'm just saying.
He might actually pick John up and throw him out of the cage. But just sticking with this one, Jacare is actually stepping in for Yoel next month.
Hermansson is stepping in for Yoel. Yoel and Jacare are already scheduled to fight each other.
And then who else is? He was supposed to fight Paulo Costa.
Costa got flagged by USADA. Supposedly, that's a rumor that Yoel put out.
Yeah.
Yoel got hurt, he got pneumonia, so he had to back out. Then they're saying Paulo Costa was going to do it, and now they're saying Jack Hermansson, who just fought the other week.
Oh, did they just announce that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because when I was reading that on Friday, they were saying Jacare was going to step in and fight. Paulo Costa was going to step in.
That's what they said. That was what talked about, and then out of nowhere, they're like, Jack Hermansson got it.
It might have been because Costa was asking for the fight in the UFC. Assuming that USADA's still looking at him, they're like, dude, you can't. You're under investigation. But that's just assumptions. That was assumptions.
They won't put that out for sure until it's official.
Yeah,
he got flagged.
Yeah, that one we could talk about. That Miami card's crazy because it was originally supposed to be Yoel and Costa. Costa had to drop out. And then that one's been a mess. But anyways, getting back to this one, with Jacare Gastelum
and Adesanya.
Yeah, so Gastelum beat Jacare, but he beat Bisping after Bisping just got wrecked by GSP. It was like it was a fight that everybody was like, how is he allowed to fight right now? That just was a mess.
That's the fight that Bisping went out on. It's like, why would you give him that? Why would you let him? Why would you ask him, and why would you let him?
Yeah, I wasn't impressed by that one.
That was 2 weeks after he got knocked out by George, or got choked out by George. And that was a
brutal fight. That was a brutal fight, especially Bisping had the messed up eye that he got fixed luckily after he retired. So I'm not impressed by that win. I don't think anybody else was. And then he lost to Weidman before that. So I mean, I guess if you look at his fights before that, he beat Belfort. He beat Tim Kennedy. He beat Hendricks.
Hendricks was his last fight at welterweight, so
yeah.
Who gives a shit about
and
anything before Kennedy in this conversation.
Yeah, and I was just saying Hendricks was losing to everybody at the end of his career. I just don't think. I think most people don't think that Gastelum was like necessarily deserving if it was any other weight class.
He's a weird guy because you could see that he has the potential to be a legitimate top contender, but you're not sure because he just hasn't had the like the cumulative wins. Like not even Adesanya really doesn't have him either.
Well,
like,
that's because he's just shot.
You go
up.
through somebody like Tony Ferguson, who's went through everyone,
and a Holloway and a Ferguson.
Yeah, like Holloway, Ferguson, even Poirier. Pretty much go through the list at lightweight for those guys. Those guys have gone through the gauntlet. Kamaru Usman went through the gauntlet somewhat, getting up to welterweight.
Right.
And that's just.
I think Gastelum should have been matched up with a guy like Yoel or something. That would have been a good one. But anyways, so getting back to this fight, man.
But they need young guys.
I think that
division.
I think that this is going to be stupid lopsided. I don't. I mean, unless Gastelum's chin holds up. I think
it'll be close early.
Really, you think so?
I think Gastelum has some. He's got hands. He's got some speed in his hands, but that's all he really has to offer.
But this is the problem. He's 5'9", fighting a professional kickboxer with over 80 kickboxing matches. Yeah, over 80 kickboxing matches. That's not even including his MMA career, where he had. I think he had a few.
He's 16-0 right now,
and he's had 16 fights already in MMA, and he's 6'4".
With a 80-something inch reach.
He has an 80-inch reach, so he has a 9-inch reach advantage, almost a foot. I mean, I don't even see. To me, I just don't see how he gets inside. Because the other thing too is Adesanya has proved that he can stand up too. Like he can stuff the takedowns. That he can stay on the outside, and he's
not a guy that cuts weight either.
No, and he uses length so well.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he's almost
anybody that can use length against Anderson Silva is fucking elite.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I hate doing the comparisons like Silva, Adesanya, because Adesanya is his own fighter and all that stuff. But I mean, it's hard not to make some of those.
It's hard not to because he's the only guy that's come close to that kind of style.
Yeah, the style bender has come close to Anderson Silva's style. But honestly, I don't see this being very competitive. Because I mean, even if Kelvin's pretty fast, I don't see him being able to get inside the pocket and being able to hit Adesanya. The only what he'll have to do, I think, is he's going to have to mix up punches and grappling. So he's going to have to mix up his wrestling.
I think he's going to need to do what Masvidal did against Till. And if you watch that fight, there was a couple of times Masvidal shot for a single leg, but as soon as he grabbed the leg, he was coming up with hooks and overhands.
Yeah.
To get his eyes looking down for the takedown, get his arms down, get his chin exposed, and then fire off some big shots.
Yeah. And that was something good going back to the days when Edgar fought Penn. I thought that was what he did so well, was he mixed that up against Penn to strike against him. But and I think that's it's going to be, is Kelvin able to get inside? Is he able to take good wrestling shots?
He's got great boxing. But you're going to need more than just two hands to fight Izzy.
Yeah, 100%. Because again, I just don't see him being able to reach him. The size difference here is just so massive.
And Kelvin gets tired.
Yeah, that's the other
boy. He's mentioned he's Mexican. He likes to eat. He likes his rice. He likes his beans and his burritos.
That's the other thing too, is Adesanya is a guy that's proven that he can go and go and go. Like he can, again, he's had over
his
80.
Fight style. He's not going to get tired. He doesn't throw a lot into his strikes. He doesn't cut weight. He doesn't carry a lot of muscle.
No, so I don't know. I know. Let's see what the Vegas odds. Vegas odds has this so close right now. They have Adesanya as the -170 favorite to Kelvin Gastelum's +150. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I think that's about right.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, it's a title fight. It's a weird matchup. I don't know if you can.
This is a
be
weird
a lopsided.
matchup.
I don't know. I wouldn't like a lopsided betting odds.
I was trying to think about this earlier. What next to this one? What's the weirdest matchup that you've seen? Because to me, this is a weird one.
I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if I can pull one up.
I was thinking of like maybe Chael Sonnen versus John Jones.
That's weirder than this.
You think so?
Yeah, because that doesn't. I mean, Chael didn't deserve a title shot at 205. He mostly got it because of his mouth, and John needs somebody to fight. But at least this is a legitimate middleweight fight.
Yeah. I don't know. This one was just, I mean, just the matchup itself was just so weird to me. But anyways, like I said, keys to victory, I think, for Kelvin, if I had to give him keys to victory, it's going to be find some way to get in the pocket. He's either, one, going to have to make this fight ugly, or two.
Have to make it ugly.
Well, I was going to say, two, I mean, unless he can just out-wrestle him. If he's able to stay low, avoid any incoming knee missiles from Adesanya, and he's able to...
Ask Derek Brunson.
Yeah.
You get lazy with your takedowns, he's going to catch you.
Yeah, absolutely. Derek Brunson. Yeah, I mean that was impressive for Adesanya to see a striker be able to keep it on the feet so well. And Kelvin, I think the best thing that he can do to stay strong on this one is he's going to have to get those single legs, drive him to the cage, because I doubt he'll be able to get a double leg. He's going to have to drive him to the cage and start working for those takedowns and make this a grueling fight for Adesanya.
I would say he's going to have to sell out for these first 2 rounds.
Oh my gosh.
He's going to have to...
Tell us how you really feel.
He's going to have to, like I said, he's like how Masvidal did with Till. He's going to have to shoot for these fake single legs and come up with these bombs. He's going to have to push him up against the fence. He's going to have to suffocate him. And where he has no room to go.
And even then, can he reach?
Yeah, I was going to say, even when he gets his back up against the fence, he's going to have to throw feints and combos. He can't let Izzy get around him.
No, absolutely
He gets out in an open space, Adesanya is not going to get touched with a power shot.
No.
Unless he gets too overly confident, which he does have that kind of style where he's going to get overconfident at some point. Maybe in MMA, he's going to get caught with something. But
who, Adesanya, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has had some wars. I think the keys to victory here for Adesanya are pretty simple.
It's the opposite of what we said. Keep it at distance. Do your thing. Keep touching him. Just keep touching him.
And he moves a lot. He moves sideways so much. That's something that you and I in our training, when we do our boxing, kickboxing training, I tell you is like hit your angles, move out, move out. He does that so well. He can move left and right. He can stand in front of you because his reflexes are so good, so in tune. So to me, I think this, like, if I had money to bet 1-to-1 straight up, I would put it on Adesanya. I'd put some serious money on this one. I think the Vegas odds are nice to Kelvin, to be frank.
I think it's just because of the title fight.
Yeah, but if anything, I think it's very interesting. Like,
this is a very interesting fight.
Yeah, like, how is Kelvin gonna react to that? How is Adesanya gonna be able to react to a more athletic guy's?
I think Kelvin needs to fight
wrestling.
Kelvin needs to fight him almost Muay Thai style. He needs to get high guard and just keep walking forward.
Yeah, you really think he's going to strike with him that much? You don't think he's going to, like, revert back to his wrestling?
He's going to have to. It starts on the feet.
Yeah.
He's going to have to. He can't just shoot from distance.
Yeah. What do you mean by, like, he's going to have to keep his high guard, though, for Muay Thai? You mean he's just keep his hands up?
Keep his hands up,
okay.
keep checking kicks, and he's just going to have to keep pushing him forward.
And to your point, too, that's going to tire him out quick, too. Keeping your hands up, if you're not used to it, that tires you out.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. I think because watching him fight Jacare, he was dead halfway through that fight. He's got to sell out in the first 2 rounds, I think. I don't think he will, but I think he has to find a way to knock him out in the first 2.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff to watch, man. I think even though I think that Adesanya is going to run through him, and I mean that in regards to, like, it's going to be a 3-round domination. I don't know if he'll finish him. If he does finish him, because the thing, Adesanya's not a one-punch knockout guy.
No, but he's a volume guy.
He's a volume guy.
He could be much like our next champion that's about to fight. He could be a guy, not early on, but later in the fight, could weaponize pace.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it, is weaponizing pace. And
especially if he feels
way.
Kelvin can't keep up with him, that he's dead, he might just keep touching him as much as he possibly can. So
he'll lay it into him.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but either way, hey, you know what? This is going to be a fun fight. I think even just because of the size differential and the talent level differential here. Actually, I shouldn't say that, but mostly the size differential here, I think it's going to make for a very interesting fight.
Yeah.
So it makes for a good interim fight while Whitaker has had to heal up because,
from what I've heard, he's ready to go.
At the end of the day, the exciting thing is Whitaker healed up. He's been in training, so
if somebody gets a quick one here, they could turn this around fast.
Probably looking end of summertime for the middleweight
probably
title.
August. Probably a co-main event for DC and Brock, which has been rumored for August.
Okay. Awesome about this matchup.
But I'm just saying,
I can't even get started on that.
I'm just saying,
Can't even get started on that.
They're going to want a title co-fight for that.
Yeah.
So I'm
Oh
saying-
yeah, no, absolutely. They're going. Yeah, they have to. They're going to. But I don't even want to get started on Brock Lesnar getting a freaking title shot heavyweight. But
Moving on.
moving on.
So we're
to,
pretty clear. We both got Adesanya in that one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Vegas does by a small margin as well. But let's face it. If I'm being real,
This is the fucking fight, son.
If-
This is the best fight of the year so far.
if I had to break down the money I'm spending on the pay-per-view, like
It's
definitely
for this.
40% of that goes to the co-main event because I love Adesanya, but 60% of that, 100%. 60%, 100% of the time, it goes 60% of the time.
That doesn't make any sense.
Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier. This fight is going to be awesome. This is the fight, like, I think everybody didn't even know that they wanted to watch.
Much like how when Max first beat Brian and Tony said we should fight for the interim belt if Khabib's out, everybody's like, oh my God, that's the fight I never knew I wanted. And
Yeah.
when the Ferguson one jumped out or followed out and Poirier jumped in, they're like, I love this just as much. Like, this is awesome.
Well, because, a lot of people were for Poirier, man. They're like, why has he not got a title shot yet? I mean, he has had a fantastic run at lightweight.
Yeah.
He's looked great. I mean,
Looked revitalized at 155.
100%.
Other than a bad night against Michael Johnson, or maybe he was a little emotional.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shit talked in that fight.
Yeah, he is a guy that's susceptible to get emotional, but I mean Holloway's not a guy that like.
There's no bad blood in this one. This
No.
one's all friendly competition. I know that first Alvarez Poirier fight was a draw because some controversial. That was he kneed him on the ground.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But his fight with Jim Miller, that was a fun fight. Johnson obviously starched him, but he starched Bobby Green. He
Oh my
beat the
God.
shit out of Joe Duffy.
Oh my God, look at these fights, man. He beat the crap out of Eddie Alvarez.
I mean, his last 3 fights were fight of the night.
Oh my God, they were fantastic.
They were amazing.
Just then, not halfway or this time last year, he beat Justin Gaethje.
In a 4-round fucking
War.
yeah.
In probably
Which,
one
honestly,
of the-
I didn't think he was going to handle. I didn't think he was going to make it through that kind of.
Well, we
grueling
see that
fight.
Gaethje is clearly still great. I mean, he just
Yeah.
knocked out Barboza last weekend,
and
so
didn't get hit really.
no. And so I mean, for Poirier to
And
be
he
able
went
to
through
put
a
it
brutal
on-
fight with Pettis.
Oh my God, that was a.
I mean, we've seen when
Pettis
you
is
get
an
that kind of
animal.
fight with Pettis. I mean, he doesn't win them a lot, but he gets his shots in.
Yeah, he fought Jim Miller.
That was a brutal fight too.
Yeah, unfortunately, he lost to Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson's just a weird dude. Like, he has some notable wins and win loss. But anyways, yeah. Then Bobby Green, he beat Joe Duffy. To your point, Yancy Medeiros. I mean, man, he has been through the gauntlet, knocked out Medeiros.
He's
man.
been. It's not just like he went through some top name guys. He went through some bangers.
Oh yeah,
He went through
absolutely,
the bangers of that division.
absolutely, 100%. So I mean, man, this.
To knock out Eddie Alvarez too, man. Like only Conor had really done that.
Oh my God.
I mean, that was a brutal fight. That was another one where he got kneed on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh my God, this is fucking deja vu. And then, you're wondering what's gonna happen. Then he got up and he's like, fuck Eddie Alvarez, knocked him out.
Man, but and then
You
we
want to
go.
talk about running through the gauntlet though?
Yeah, I was just that was a good lead way. I was about to say, let's go over to the guy that we like most. I love Poirier. He's a guy I think just to finish off talking about. Or
I think
like
he's a
to-
perennial contender.
Yeah, he's a perennial contender right now. He's still relatively young. He's been through the gauntlet
I don't know
now.
if he's 30 yet. I don't think he's 30. He might be 29, 30.
Yeah,
He might
yeah,
be right around there.
yeah. He's about as old as Connor, so
Yeah.
because I know they kind of met like at the same age, but and everybody I think like because I follow him on Twitter too. A lot of people are like, man, why haven't you got a title shot yet? And it's because that lightweight division is just a mess. But
It's just since Connor's won that belt, it's just you want to talk about a logjam.
yeah, 100%. But let's move over to the other side of the cage, man. Let's talk
A
about
featherweight champ moving up, which people thought this move was coming earlier. Obviously, he moved up to he was going to challenge Khabib for the title last year, but for obvious reasons he backed out because of the weight issue.
Oh yeah, but he was 100% game to do that.
Yeah, he
though. He
was.
was about to do that. I think
on
he
2
just,
weeks' notice. I think he was just cutting too much weight too often because he had backed out of 2 fights previous to that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he was cutting too much weight and
He was
something.
about to fight Khabib.
Yeah.
on 2 weeks.
And he
notice.
loved it, dude. He loved it. He
Yeah.
was so excited for it. But a lot of people thought the fight that kept him at featherweight was the one with Ortega, which he was not the favorite in,
Yeah.
which was bananas. And I mean, he got hurt in that fight a little bit. Ortega tagged him a little bit, but other than that, it was all Max.
That just comes from his style, though. I mean,
Yeah, it does.
and everybody tags him. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just what it is. Like, I'm a big Jose Aldo fan. And
But to be able to outlast Aldo with the shots that he took.
that's what I was going to say is, like, in both those fights, Aldo put on a clinic for a round and a half, and then as soon as he, to your point, like, Holloway weaponizes his pace, man, he just ramps
That's
up
what-
as it gets
He
later
doesn't
in the
load
fight,
up, he just
man.
touches you. That's what
And
he does.
dude, this guy just loves to fight. He's exactly what they say about
That's
the
what-
Hawaiians,
my
like
favorite-
BJ Penn and all them.
My favorite line in that Holloway Ortega fight, I think Anik was talking about how, because this is when Brian was first getting pieced up. He's like, yeah, Brian said if he has to rely on his Mexican blood, he will. And Rogan said, well, when it comes to toughness between Mexican and Hawaiians, I think that's a wash. I was like, dude, that's my favorite line in that fight, like of any fight, I think. Because how true is that?
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I was just the puns that were lingering there with that.
Yeah.
It's a wash. But no, I thought that's great though, man. But Ortega. The crazy thing I thought about that fight was Ortega always looked like a big guy. Like against the other 145 guys, he looked like a big guy. You're like, oh crap! Like he's a sizable 145 guy, and then he gets in the cage and he's standing across from Max, and you're like, oh my god, what? They're in the same weight class. Like Ortega looks like a midget right now, and
Max
he's
is
definitely
really put
not.
on, he's really built healthy weight.
Oh yeah,
at his age.
and he's 5'11".
Yeah, so this move is coming at a good time.
Yeah, but
And you want to talk about a guy who had fantastic cardio and a chin, and now he's moving up to cut 10 less pounds.
yeah, I was sorry. I was just looking at. I was just counting. I think he's on 11 fight win streak.
12, I think.
12 fight
I think
win
it's
streak.
12.
But yeah, I know. That's the other thing I was thinking too. Is this guy doesn't have to cut. There's 10 less pounds he has to cut.
Yeah, and he's still got a sizable weight cut, but 10 less pounds has got to be like enormous.
Do you know what his walk around weight is?
When he got the call for Khabib, I think he was at 190. He said
He weighs that much outside the
185,
cage.
190. He said he blows up.
Dang, that's
When
great.
he's in
I can't
training
even
camp, he
imagine
cuts a
that.
lot of weight, and then once the fight week comes around, he cuts again. He does his normal cut, but yeah, I think he said he eats a lot when he's not training.
I never imagined that with him. Because like Aldo was always, they were always like, man, he takes a massive weight cut because he cut down from 170 to 145. And we see that he tires after the third round. You know, he has some decent cardio, but he tires after the third round. But yeah, damn, man. So,
I
but
think it's
either
also
way,
the way you're built too, like that quick twitch. You know, those
Yeah.
explosive guys are the ones that tire.
yeah,
Max isn't explosive
dude. Max is just a grinder, man. He
in the best way.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, his last loss was
Conor McGregor.
Was to Conor McGregor. Both these guys have lost McGregor, so you know that they're itching
But
for
Max's
another
first
shot.
loss was his debut in the UFC against Dustin Poirier.
Poirier. That's good thing you brought
But he
that
was
up.
20 years old. That was fucking 7 or 8 years ago.
And you know what? The good thing that I liked, and Poirier even mentioned that too. He's like, we were both different fighters at that time.
If you go watch it, not that they look bad, but you can tell that they've gotten so much better since that fight.
Yeah, I mean, they were both young guys when they first got matched up. And I mean, if you watch that, that was back in 2012. And Dustin got him, I think, but he was sitting on him on top. It was like a top arm
He
bar.
got some kind of arm bar, and then Max rolled somehow into got Dustin rolled into a mounting arm bar, and then he twisted it too. It was some weird ass submission.
Yeah, it was.
It was an arm triangle. Actually, I think it was a triangle to an arm bar. Something.
Was it?
Yeah, it was something weird.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I think you're right because I was gonna say I do remember seeing that, but both these guys, and I think Poirier even mentioned that too. He's like, man, we're both such different fighters. He's like, Max is a different fighter. I'm a different fighter. I don't plan on this being an easy fight.
Yeah, if you watch, Max was throwing a lot of flying knees and shit, and like a lot of spinning techniques and like stuff that you don't see him throw a lot of now because now he trusts his basic combinations so much.
Yeah, 100%.
And he seemed a little reckless at 20 years old, which you would probably expect from somebody young.
Yeah, I mean his striking, just to your point too, just wasn't as clean as it is now. Where he just he'll throw.
Like even Poirier looked a little sloppy.
Oh yeah, no, of course. And
now you look at Poirier's boxing; it looks crisp, man.
Oh yeah,
on point, straight.
Especially since he jumped up to 155.
Yeah, there's no fat in it.
No, absolutely not. And to that point too, like I like Holloway striking's really come a long way because he uses his length very well. He throws straight punches. His hooks are a little wide, but again, he can kind of get away with that because of his length at 145.
And he throws a little bit fast. He throws more fast than, or I'm sorry, he throws with more speed than power.
Yeah, absolutely. But talking about a guy that's
Yeah,
run through
go through the list.
Yeah,
That's what I'm gonna call it, the list.
let's
I think
see.
you should start from the bottom and go up.
You want to see from the bottom?
Yeah, since he lost to Connor, the win streak.
Yeah, he actually lost. I mean, his 3 losses are not bad.
No.
Poirier, Dennis Bermudez, because he was an animal when he first came in the UFC.
Yeah.
Dennis Bermudez was the man. And then he lost to McGregor in a decision. So he lost, actually, and he lost a split decision to Dennis Bermudez, too.
Poirier's
so it wasn't like he
the only one to
got.
finish
Yeah. Because he's, what, like 21
7 or 8 now.
and
But
3?
then-
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about his record.
Yeah, his record.
Yeah.
He's like 20-3 or 21-3. But anyway, so let's see. Feely.
Andre Feely, solid featherweight.
Feely's on here. Corsani, he was around for a little while. Cole Miller
Cub
is up
Swanson,
here.
though, was the real eye opener for people.
Absolutely.
Charles Oliveira, Jeremy Stevens,
Jeremy Stevens is the man. So
Yeah.
like that's a heck
Ricardo
of a win.
Lamas, Pettis,
Fantastic
Aldo
fighter.
twice, and then Ortega.
That's
a murderer's row, dude.
Absolutely, that is
Ortega
definitely
was
not
finishing
easy.
everybody too,
Yeah, I mean
in all
that's what I
kinds
was-
of ways. Knockout. He was the first person to knock out Frank Edgar. Starched him, picked him off his feet with a hook.
Yeah, I mean that was a beautiful.
I think
that was
dude,
a beautiful combo.
He hit him so hard with that uppercut that I didn't make a noise.
I was,
I was like, he picked him off. He picked him off his feet.
yeah, I know.
I was like, oh my god.
But and it's surprising too. I know this is getting a little off track, but that's surprising too. The way that he fights Frankie Edgar, you would assume that would have happened earlier, but dude that dude. He's on another level, but he was bound to get caught anyways. But yeah, and then on top of that, for Ortega to walk into that title fight and just look completely outclassed for what 3-4 rounds.
Most of the fight. I mean, he had
4 rounds.
He did
that
have
he
some
lasted.
success, but that, like you said, that comes with Max's style with that high output that he's going to get hit.
Yeah, and I think he was out for a little bit too. He does.
He was out for over a year.
Yeah,
actually, it was about a year at that time.
Yeah, actually, you know what? Take that out of it because regardless, he just gets tagged a lot. But he's a fun freaking fighter, man. Poirier's a fun freaking fighter. Both these dudes, this is going to be a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, I don't know what the keys to victory for this is because, I mean, both guys are going to approach this pretty similar.
I mean, Max is definitely a taller guy.
But he has less reach. He has a very unimpressive reach for his size.
Yeah, that is weird. I never noticed that too. But you know what? It's always hard to trust the UFC website, UFC.com. Because he's 5'11", and Poirier's 5'9". So I mean, there's only really a two height inch difference, but we'll have to see like how that translates in the cage.
Mm-hmm.
Poirier does fight pretty tall, so whereas like Holloway kind of comes down a little bit and tries to use his length. That's typically against shorter guys at 145. I mean, honestly, I think it's gonna be volume for Holloway. Like his best weapon is his volume. Because even though Poirier can definitely go, I think he's kind of guy like the later in the round it gets, or the later rounds, he kind of starts looking like Justin Gaethje, where he just starts
put the chin down and starts
bites on the mouthpiece and just starts coming forward.
But his opponent doesn't have anything left to throw.
Yeah, and Holloway can still stay crisp in the late rounds. So I think that for him, he'll would
rip
be
off
his
10
biggest
punch
key.
combos.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, he'll tire you out. So I think for Dustin, it's going to be getting inside and keeping this a clean fight. Don't keep up with his pace. You know what I mean? Like keep this a clean fight. Keep your distance. Move. Pick your shots. Like don't make this an ugly fight. Because if you make it an ugly fight, unless you catch him on the chin or on the temple.
But to be honest, I've been trying to think about this fight for the last couple of weeks, and I can't pick a winner. To be honest, in my opinion.
I've been leaning towards Holloway just because I think that
I thought at first that's what I was going with.
Well, here's the other reason too: is Poirier's had a couple brutal last fights as well.
So like, Holloway's had 3 brutal fights.
I don't think that he's had. I don't think his body has had the wear and tear that Poirier has had in his last few fights. I think he's had some more strenuous fights. And Max is definitely the fresher guy right now, I would definitely say. But I think that he's just going to out-volume strike Poirier, and I think that's how he's going to end up winning. I don't even know if he's going to be able to finish him. Maybe not. But
I would imagine he'd carry power at 155.
Do you think he's going to carry power? But still, I don't know if he's like a power guy, though.
No, but I'm not saying he's going to carry, one knockout or one punch knockout power, but he'll carry more power than he did at 145.
Hey, you know what? If anything, he's kind of like, and you kind of referred to this in the co-main event. He's kind of like an Adesanya. You never know. He might, like, in the fourth round, if Poirier can't keep his hands up, he might just start punching until Poirier.
Oh, he definitely will.
Yeah, until Poirier
he proved
has to give up
in his last few fights.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's how I think that this fight is going to go. I'm going to see him press or keep the action standing. Obviously, both of these guys, they're going to keep it standing, but he's going to keep it. He's just going to strike him. He's going to punch him. So
the one thing about it, though, that I'm looking at is I think Poirier offers a bit of a mix of Aldo and Ortega that Max has fought recently, where he can last longer than Aldo did, like Ortega did. He had a better cardio, obviously. But I think he's more crisp than Ortega, who was able to land a lot of solid punches. And he throws with more power, I would think. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, man, that fight style, it's hard to trust day in and day out.
Yeah. Honestly, both their fight styles, I think, are hard to trust. Just the way they
Max
go.
definitely has the better chin.
But you know what?
But you just never know, man.
That's why this is such a great matchup, man. It's like, who is going to win? Like, there's so many questions. How is Holloway going to look not having to cut that extra 10 pounds?
You would imagine great.
How is Poirier going to look against this opponent? I think that just offers this different type of style that actually I think favors his style, to your point, right?
I mean, this is a better version of Justin Gaethje. It's a Justin Gaethje that can use movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I'm so excited. I know you're pumped for this fight. Like, again, if you're spending $60 and you want to justify it, you can just look at the top two fights here.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you look at the rest of this card, I'm like, I don't know if I want to buy this. And then you look at the two fights headlining this, like, I got a little bit of a chub.
I think that I said that there's a lot of great fights on this card, and I think that there is potentially a lot of great fights. It's just you don't know. It's in the air. And some of these matchups, let's be frank, they're kind of questionable. Like some guys, you have some guys that have never fought in the UFC fighting a little bit higher than other people than they should be.
Fighting the gatekeepers, which they probably shouldn't get till a couple fights in. But yeah, I mean,
you have the potential for some exciting fights on here. But when it comes down to it, let's face it, you're paying $60 for two fights.
Yeah,
which isn't bad because sometimes you pay $60 for just one fight, right?
And it's usually a dud, which I don't think either one of these will be. But you never know. But that main event will not be a dud.
No, 100% it won't be. These guys know what they were brought in to do.
Yeah.
And
they know what they're willing to do for this belt.
Yeah, and that's the other weird thing too. So there's two belts on the line. They're two interim belts, and that's kind of the weird thing.
That's got to be a first.
Yeah, I would assume so. Two interim belts, and I mean, I guess you can kind of argue that this is one of the few times that there deserves to be interim belts. Because you figure with
Rob hasn't fought in a while, and Khabib's he's already said, I'm not coming back till, I think September is the earliest, they said.
In October.
No, I think they recently just came out and said September is what he's targeting. But still, that's almost a year. So, I mean, at least this moves the division along because they need contender. They need, for sure, number one contender.
Yeah, and like I said, for the first time ever, I think that this is one of the more deserving interim titles. Like, because Dana throws interim all the time.
It's very rare that there's a deserving interim title.
Yeah, but with Khabib being out on the suspension, I think that this is very deserving. Obviously, I think this matchup was supposed to be Ferguson and Holloway.
That was offered first.
But I think the thing, because Ferguson asked it, and at first everybody was confused about why Ferguson turned it down, but then this stuff came out about...
you knew there was something. There was a reason for it.
At
first he was saying, champ shit only. Like, that can't be the reason. There's got to be something.
It came out about the possible domestic abuse
that either they
with his
guaranteed
wife.
him a fight with Khabib or something was happening.
Yeah, because Ferguson's usually pretty game. He's a weird guy, but he's usually game.
He's game for a fight.
And he called that fight too. He said, "Let's fight." But regardless, I think that this is going to be this is one of the best lightweight matchups
that you'll ever see.
Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. I can't wait. I'm so excited for this one. Everybody else should be excited for this one.
This is equally as good as Ferguson being in this fight.
I think because of the history of Poirier and Holloway, since they fought before.
It makes it a little bit interesting.
And here's the other thing, too, is they both have lost to McGregor, so, McGregor's just sitting there waiting for a fight.
You're going to get a tweet. You're going to get a tweet Saturday night about who wins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connor's, I guarantee he's already got both ready.
Yeah.
His reply for either one of them ready.
And Connor came out a little while ago. That guy's such a freaking roller coaster. But he came out a little while ago saying that both these guys deserved a rematch with him. So
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he said Jose deserved a rematch with him, which hopefully that would be a fantastic way for Jose Aldo to go out on his career, is fighting Conor McGregor in Brazil at the end of the year. That's probably not going to happen. But anyways, yeah, man, these two fights, that's what you're paying for this one. It's going to be on pay-per-view via ESPN Plus. So make sure you have your subscription. They do a free 7-day trial too. So even if you have to make up some kind of account just to get onto ESPN Plus just for the night, you can pretty much use whatever email address and just get a free 7-day subscription and then purchase the pay-per-view through that method. Because it's kind of messed up that they have they announced the cost of the pay-per-view?
It's the same, I think. I don't think it's changed the price.
Which is criminal because you're paying for the ESPN Plus subscription.
That's what made a lot of people upset about this.
Yeah.
It's for another time.
I don't like that. Maybe we'll do in our recap show. We'll talk about that. Yeah, that's just a shame. But anyways, yeah, I think that's pretty much it from us, guys. I hope you guys enjoy this. We're going to be back later this week for a short, like we usually do, 15-minute DraftKings episode. We do it about Wednesday, Thursday. Just really depends. Well, we do boxing. Well, we have boxing training on Wednesday. Boxing training. God, whatever. I've been so off today between 100%, 60% in boxing training. We have our training Wednesday night, so probably Thursday night because DraftKings doesn't release that information until a little bit later in the week, release the matchups and all that in the leagues. So we'll do that. Look for that Thursday, Friday. Sean does his favorite picks, his dark horses. He does a pick 'em lineup for you to pick and or to use. And other than that, enjoy the fights, and we're going to see you post UFC 236. All right, everybody. Thank you.